How's it going? I'm Ryan, and today I'm going to go over the four trades I took on NQ. Took a loss in the pre-market. Uh, After that, I hit three straight wins, so pretty good winning day overall. We're up just under $600 on the day. I think 583 to be exact. So good day overall. I sized back up. The volatility today was a little bit more in line with what it has been. Past week was crazy, so we sized down last week, but um, as long as things remain somewhat normal, we'll go back up to our regular sizing and should have some decent wins this week. So I'll get into those trades. I'm going to turn on so we can see the fills and the trades that I took, and I'll go over each one individually. Coming into the day, I had a few zones. These are all just zones based off the volume profile, looking at high volume areas, looking where liquidity is. And then I have this yellow level here, and this is yesterday's point of control. So in the pre-market, we didn't test yesterday's point of control, so that was an untouched point of control. And sometimes those can be pretty relevant levels. So an area of high liquidity, of high volume of transactions. So I was watching this yellow level as well, and that came into play in my third trade, which happened to be the one that made me the most money. So let's go into it and take a look at what we were watching. I'm just gonna pull up the 5 minute on the big screen so we can take a look. First of all, I took this trade in the pre-market. I took 4 contracts, so I entered 2 contracts and I entered another 2 because it looked like it was going to be pretty nice. And this trade was based on 2 things. So I had this zone here, and we were coming up and testing the top of this zone, as well as where we had found support before. And then once we broke that support, you see we got a pretty good sell-off. So we came up, we were testing this once support, now resistance. We were getting some weak price action, so I entered short. My stop was just above this high volume node right here, and I got stopped out. As soon as market opened, we never really quite dropped, right? We kept wicking up, failing to close lower, and then the opening candle got a push to the upside and stopped me out. So that was about a $240 loss off the open on 4 contracts. The second trade I took, once we broke to the upside of this zone, from there what I wanted to see is a retest and hold of this zone and then a move up to the next. So we got that pretty immediately. Once I saw on the 1 minute, let's see if we can pull this up on the 1 minute and get an idea of what I was watching here. So we got that move to the upside, and then we got this candle here, which is a nice hammer. I entered shortly after. My stop was below these wicks here, so my stop was about 960 or so, and my take profit was initially the bottom of the zone at 1930. I dropped it just about 10 points because we had this little high here, and because price was kind of struggling up in here. But it was pretty quick move to the upside. So this was maybe not the best trade because it was just taking the opposite of the loss that I just had. I was short, we broke to the upside, and then I longed. So it was the right play in terms of going with the momentum, but I don't really trade like breakout. A better trade would have been this retest on this second candle, probably in the continuation of once we got this move up and came down. But we weren't looking so hot here, so I didn't take that. But that was my second trade. First trade was short in the pre-market that stopped me out for a loss. Second trade was just getting this momentum, looking for a move from this zone up to this zone, and that made back my loss. So at this point I was up, and this was with 5 contracts, so that's my regular position sizing, I should say. Stop loss was below these wicks just because it's an area that we saw as support. It also gave me a pretty favorable, I had less than 30, I had like a 28 point stop or so for what was initially my entry was 88, was initially like a 40 point take profit. I got about a little over 30, I got like 32 points or something because I took it a little early. That's another thing I could have done better. I could have just left my take profit where it was because it would have hit, and it would have got me an extra 10 points or so, which would have been an extra $100 on the trade, and it just would have aligned better with my trade idea, making a move from this zone to this zone. And so yeah, that's something I could improve there. My second trade, what I wanted to see was I was watching the 1 hour, and we had, so this is kind of the pre-market highs. I want to see if we could break above these pre-market highs as well as that point of control from yesterday's session, and hold that and then make a move up to this next zone. If we were bullish, if we were making higher highs, higher lows, that's the price action that I'd want to see, right? I'd want to see us break above a key level, retest it, hold it, and get continuation. And so we got that, and that was my third trade right here. So if we look at the 1 minute chart, I think it's pretty clear on the 1 minute as well. We broke above, and then we started retesting, and on the 1 minute you can see how that point of control came into play, right? We held it on this close, opened, came down, held it on this candle, held it on this candle, held it on this candle, and then at this point I think it was this candle that I entered long. Same thing, I entered long here. My stop was below this zone, so my entry was at about 53 or so. My stop was at 30, so about a 23 point stop, and I was targeting up at this zone. I put it right at that 100 hole level, so about 50 points or a little under 50. And the reason why I didn't put it this zone is that we just had that 1900 or 19,100, just that big whole number. So I put it there, and price moved pretty aggressively off this hold of that yesterday's point of control, and then moved up to the upside for another $442, so about 45 points or so. So that was a nice move, and at this point I was sitting pretty well, just under $500 of profit on the day. I took one more trade, and it's kind of funny because I took it a pretty small chunk after seeing how far we dropped. But what I was watching is that we had this zone here, and you can see that we wicked it once, twice, got a little rejection, weak price action, weak price action, weak price action. We took out those highs, but we immediately reversed. So if we look on the 1 minute here, we were just kind of bouncing between these two zones, and then on the 5 minute we were looking pretty weak, and then we did break high of day, but then immediately just pulled back. So as we pushed up and retested on this candle, I entered a short. My stop loss was above these wicks right here, so I had an entry around 94. Entry around 94. My stop loss was up here at about 120. So about, what was that? About 25, 26 points of risk. And my take profit, I put it right at that point of control that we were holding before. I know that that's a big area of liquidity, so I figured if we were going to pull back, a safe bet is that we'd hit that point of control. So 1950 pretty much exactly was my take profit. So about 40 points of take profit for about 24 points of risk, about right around that 2-to-1 risk to reward. And I only took this with one contract because I was sitting on, like I said, just under $500 of profit. I was willing to risk about $40 to see if I could make about 100, and ended up hitting. We got a really volatile move. We dropped pretty aggressively, so it would have been nice to capture more of that. But regardless, it worked out, and that was $88 on a single contract, so about 44 points. I thought it was closer to 50. But yeah, 44 points on that as well to bring me to $583.40 on both accounts. We are up just under $1,200. So a good morning today. It kind of bummed me out that this didn't work. I'll take occasional setups in the pre-market, and they very rarely ever work. So even if it looks good, I usually stay away from it. And sometimes I kick myself because they work out, but it seems like the ones that I enter rarely do. So that was kind of a bummer. I took an unnecessary trade. I sized into it, which was also unnecessary, right? I took 2 contracts knowing that it was a pre-market trade, and I shouldn't have added another 2. I probably could have just kept 2 contracts and just had a low risk trade to see if it worked. But you know, the risk to reward was there. I should say that obviously my stop loss was here above that high volume node. I was trying to take profit down at the overnight point of control, so I was looking for a pretty big move, about 50 points or so, 55 points. So it is what it is. I'm not going to win them all. This trade was maybe a little ill-advised because it was just going with momentum. This is probably these 2 are nice trades that were actually in line with my strategy in terms of a break above a zone, a retest, a hold, and then continuation to the next zone. This was looking at the rejection off of this top zone and a pullback into where liquidity would be. So These two trades were nice, and those happened to be, well, I guess this was only one contract. If this was full size, that would have been about $500. So these two trades were pretty nice. Nice risk reward, about 2 to 1 on each of them as well. So if I can just keep my risk reward about 2 to 1 and have my win percentage, somewhere around 50-60%, I think we can do pretty well. Overall, happy that the account is up. We took a loss yesterday. I didn't make a video because I had work, but I took about a $260 loss yesterday. So small loss yesterday, good win today. We're up, so up and climbing and hoping to grow these accounts and get a payout. That's all I got. I hope you enjoyed watching. If you did, feel free to subscribe, leave a like. It helps me out. And I trade live every Monday through Friday, so if you want to stop by and hang out, feel free to do that as well. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching. Peace.